Hey, what's up YouTube? Saf here on Super Saf TV, and in this video I'm going to be comparing the specs of the HTC One Mini to the Samsung Galaxy S4 Mini. The battle between HTC and Samsung continues, but this time it's a bit of a mini battle, shall we say. Now, the HTC One Original and the S4 Original, the flagships of both the manufacturers, have been very popular, and now both manufacturers have brought smaller, more compact versions of their flagships to the market, and they're aiming at more of the mid-range users. So what's so different between these two, and which one's better? Well, do hit that thumbs up button and let's find out in this head-to-head spec comparison. Now, initially looking at the dimensions of both of these devices, the S4 Mini is quite a bit smaller than the HTC One Mini, roughly about 7.5mm in height and 2mm roughly in width, and it's also very slightly thinner as well than the HTC One Mini. So you know, it is a bit more compact in terms of the weight. 107 grams for the S4 Mini versus 122 grams for the HTC One Mini. So again, in terms of weight as well, it is a lighter phone, it is more compact than the HTC One Mini. Now, looking at the screen sizes, both have a 4.3-inch screen, and that's going to be a little bit more compact and a little bit more easier to use with one hand compared to their bigger brothers. Resolution wise, however, the S4 Mini, you know, it did disappoint many out there because it's got a 960 by 540 resolution. It didn't hit 720p HD. The HTC One Mini, on the other hand, has that full 720p HD resolution, so 1280 by 720p, and that's 341 pixels per inch compared to the 256 pixels per inch on the S4 Mini. So a big advantage here on the HTC One Mini. You've got better resolution, so your images are going to look sharper. The text is going to look more crisp because you have that high resolution on here, and also 720p videos are going to be looking better pixel for pixel. They're not going to have to be scaled down for the device. Build and design is where the HTC One Mini has another advantage. It's got the same aluminium unibody design as its bigger brother. Comparing that to the S4 Mini, which has the polycarbonate plastic. Now, not to say it's bad, some people don't mind it, but the HTC One Mini is definitely going to be feeling a lot more premium, and it looks very nice as well. If you are somebody who's not too bothered about the build quality and doesn't mind that plastic body, then the S4 Mini is still fine, and that also does make it lighter, which is why the weight of it was lower than the HTC One Mini. But in terms of the premium feel, the HTC One Mini definitely gets the advantage here. Now, looking at the processors, 1.7 GHz dual core processor versus the 1.4 GHz dual core processor on the HTC One Mini. So you've got high clock speed on the S4 Mini. They've both got the same GPU as well. In terms of RAM, the HTC One only has 1GB of RAM, whereas the S4 Mini, you've got 1.5 or 2GB versions in terms of RAM. So again, here in terms of the internals, the S4 Mini does seem to have better internals here, especially in terms of the RAM. You know, multitasking is going to be better on the S4 Mini. Generally speaking, side-by-side comparisons will definitely tell us more, but on paper, the S4 Mini will be performing better. Now, in terms of the internal storage, the HTC One Mini has the 16GB version, whereas the S4 Mini only 8GB of internal storage here. But the S4 Mini does have expandable storage, so you can expand the storage via a micro SD card slot up to 64GB, a micro SD card that you can put on here, which you can buy quite cheap. The HTC One Mini does not have expandable storage, so if you are somebody who has a lot of media on your phone, lots of pictures, videos, etc., then that expandable storage option is going to be quite good on the S4 Mini. Now, in terms of the cameras, the S4 Mini comes with an 8MP camera, whereas the HTC One Mini comes with a 4MP UltraPixel camera. So although the resolution is smaller on the HTC One Mini, you've got that UltraPixel sensor, so you've got much better low light performance. HTC say you've got 300% more low light performance on the HTC One Mini, and it is the same camera that's come from the HTC One Original as well, which is quite impressive to see. So in terms of low light, you're definitely going to be getting better images on the HTC One Mini, whereas the S4 Mini, you've got high resolution, so if you do want to crop into images later, that's going to be a better option on the S4 Mini. Now, in terms of video, both of these film 1080p from the rear facing cameras. In terms of front facing cameras, you've got 1.6 megapixels versus 1.9 megapixels, and both of these do 720p HD recording from the front facing cameras, so slightly more megapixels on the S4 Mini here as well. Now in terms of the operating systems, both have Android Jelly Bean 4.2.2, which is the latest version of Android right now, but they both have their own skins. HTC has a HTC Sense UI, whereas Samsung Galaxy S4 Mini has the Samsung TouchWiz UI. So differences here, both have both of their advantages and disadvantages. It really comes down to personal preference here. Now looking at some of the features, the S4 Mini does come with an IR blaster as well as NFC. So in terms of connectivity, you've got some advantages here. The HTC One Mini does not have these two features. However, it does have Beats audio as well as HTC boom sound. So you've got those dual frontal speakers with the amp. So in terms of sound, the HTC One Mini is definitely going to be performing better. You're going to be getting much more rich sound on the HTC One Mini here, no doubt about that. Now looking at the batteries, not a huge deal of difference here, 1800 milliamps versus 1900 milliamps. So, you know, in terms of performance, that we'll have to wait and see. The HTC One Mini does have the high resolution screen, but the S4 Mini has the high clock speed on the processor. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see side by side, but on paper, they're quite similar here. Finally, looking at price, the S4 Mini right now, you can go and buy it for about 350 to about 370 pounds here in the UK, or roughly between 450 to $500 in the US. Now that's for the handset only, and it is available now. The HTC One Mini is due for release in August to September time, and you're going to be looking at roughly about 350 to 400 pounds here in the UK, or roughly between 450 to $500 in the US. So a very similar pricing here, so they are going to be going head to head. So those were the key differences between these two devices, both boasting some decent specs, although they are slightly less than both of their big brothers. The HTC One Mini has the advantage of the premium body as well as that 720p resolution screen, whereas the S4 Mini has the advantage of a slightly better processor, more RAM, as well as expandable storage. So it really comes down to personal preference, I think. Which one would you go for? Would you go for the HTC One Mini, or would you go for the Samsung Galaxy S4 Mini? Do drop me a comment below and let me know your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, as always, please do hit that thumbs up button for me. It really does help me out. And why not subscribe to the channel? I've got plenty more videos coming up on here. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on Super Saf TV, and I'll see you next time.